Everyone, how are you guys this week? You guys are here on the Brush by Brandy YouTube channel. I put out a new video tutorial for you guys every Friday, and this week we're going to be working on a finish that I've done before, but it's been extremely popular. I've gotten quite a few requests for it. So we are doing another piece here in this finish. Only this time you get to see the full thing on camera. So this is a beautiful magnolia finish. This is the Magnolia Transfer from Dixie Belle. And I'm going to put it together with a custom color mix. This is one of my custom mixes. You guys are going to get to find out the key to mixing that color. We're going to really break down the anatomy of a blend to get the smooth blended finish on this, and then finish out in some gold details. It's absolutely a spectacular finish. I'm also going to take this week, and we're going to take a dresser and two nightstands that don't match, and I'm going to show you that by giving them a uniform paint finish, you can take mismatched furniture and make a set out of them. So let's go ahead and get started on this set. And by the end of this video, these will be complete. Hi everyone, you guys are back here on the Brush by Brandy YouTube channel, and this week we are making over this dresser and nightstand set. You might first be asking why I'm calling these a set. Well, they're mismatched pieces, but by giving them a uniform paint finish, I'm going to create a matching set out of them. As always, I started by removing my hardware and giving my pieces good cleanings using Dixie Belle White Lightning Cleaner. I did give these a base coat of Dixie Belle Boss in gray, and I used Boss because I believe the dresser is a bleeder. The nightstands I think would have been okay, but I did want to give them a uniform base because I'm going to be matching the finishes on these. So here I am after the base coat on each of these pieces. It's not a perfect base coat, it doesn't need to be, but it's a great beginning for me to lay my final finishes on top of. Have you guys ever seen drawers like this where the drawer pushes slightly inside the body? I've got something missing here, so let me show you a couple things I recommend having in your toolkit for when you have drawers like this. Number one is I get these little pin hammers. These are from Home Depot or Lowe's. Has these actually in the kids section, or you can get them in the tool department as slightly larger than this, but I like the kids version. So I get these little tiny pin hammers, and then you want to get these little drawer stops. These are from, I get these off of Amazon. I have these in my Amazon shop, and I have two different styles in here. Let me show you guys both of these. You can also find these on Etsy. So there's this style here, and then I've got these with the round tops. The only reason I have two different styles is because I try to make them match what my body of my piece already has. So let me go ahead and take this drawer out. I'm just going to stick a screwdriver in the hole, and I'm going to pull this out and show you guys what I mean. So if I look at this drawer, on this side I have a drawer stop, and it's one of these square topped ones. And on this side it's completely missing. So let's go ahead and put a new drawer stop over on this side here. I'm just going to take one out of the package. This is what they look like. They've got teeth that are going to hammer into the wood. I'm going to put it right where my old one used to be. So I'm going to use those holes, and I'm going to use my little pin hammer. Try to not hit my fingers. I'm going to hammer that right into where it goes, and because there's already marks there, I know that it's in the right spot. And let's test it out. My drawer doesn't push inside my body anymore. So I actually need one of these on all three of my drawers. I'm going to go ahead and replace these drawer stops really quick. All right, I've got all my drawer stops replaced. My drawers no longer push inside the body of my piece. I do have another little repair that I need to do right here. I'm going to build up this corner with some Bondo, but I know that's going to have to be a touch-up later. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I know that's out of order. Okay, I really want to break down the anatomy of a blend on the side of this piece. And so the first thing I'm going to do, I've just got a base coat on here, is I'm going to take my Dixie Belle sanding sponge, and I'm just going to lightly sand over my surface, a single pass, just to knock down any dust. And then I'm going to take a damp rag, and I'm just going to tack off any of that dust from my surface. And that gives me a nice clean side to go ahead and lay my paint off. I've got it nice and smooth. A little speck of dust right here. I'm gonna get out. Okay, and now I want to go ahead and start my blending. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm using three colors here. So the three colors that I've got are Dixie Belle French Linen. I've got a custom mix here that's 50-50 Palmetto and Antebellum Blue with a little bit of Midnight Sky to darken. And then I've got my Midnight Sky. Each one has its own brush. I've got a dry neutral brush, which actually I haven't used quite yet, a rag, and then of course my mister bottle. All right, so back over here to my surface, the first thing I'm going to do is give myself water. My base coat has dried overnight, and so I know I'm not going to pull any of that paint as I go through and work my paint on top of this. And I'm going to go ahead and I start with my dominant color, which in this case is my 3-color blend, or yes, my 3-color mix. This is a basic blend of 3 colors, except one of my colors is a mix. I'm going to keep this wet. I actually am using very little paint here because I got most of the coverage that I needed with my base coat. And so I'm blending it, or I'm brushing my 3-color mix into kind of a frame shape. And I'm going to work fairly quickly on this because I need to keep my paint wet. That's why you'll see that I keep spraying my area. I do not want this paint to dry just yet. I need it to stay workable. All right, it's okay if I brush into the center because I actually want to, I'm going to create a color blend in that center area. All right, so I've got paint on just about everywhere, and again, I'm going to work pretty quickly. Now I'm going to add a little bit of my French linen. So I've added a little bit onto my brush, which is very little, a little bit of water. Now I'm going to add that right into the center. Now my goal here is I want to brush this into the surrounding color until it just becomes a slightly lighter shade of that surrounding color. So I'm going to brush, I'm still using my same brush. I'm going to brush it right into that surrounding color because I want to pull some of it into this center portion. If I feel my paint start sticking, I add a little bit of water and I'm brushing horizontally, and then I'll come back and brush it vertically. And I go back and forth like that because I want to pull these 2 colors together. And by the time I brush this center into it, that little bit of French linen has just become a slightly lighter shade than the surrounding area. All right, I've got a nice highlight, I think, in the center here. And now I want to come back and I'm going to darken these edges. For that, I'm going to use Midnight Sky. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of water. I want to keep my paint active until I'm done working with it. I need this paint to stay workable. I just used water. All right, I've given myself a little bit of Midnight Sky, but it's a little dark. So I'm going to take my 3-color blend, 3-color mix, and I'm going to work that right over the top of it. It's just going to create a darker shade in between those 2. All right, I'm not terribly worried about these side portions right here because they will be primarily Midnight Sky by the time that I'm done. Let's come down to the bottom section and I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to add the little bit of Midnight Sky. And I'm just going to work that little bit in. All right, I've got a little bit of Midnight Sky on there, and I'm going to brush on my... Now I'm going to repeat the same process over the front side of this dresser. I usually like to leave my drawer boxes in wood, but if they have any staining or damage to them, I go ahead and paint the insides. I'm going to go ahead and use Dixie Belle Silk, and that's because it just requires me to paint the drawers. Silk is an all-in-one paint, and it has a built-in top coat, so I don't need to top coat these. It also has a stain blocker, so it's going to block any stains from bleeding through to my paint. It's a beautiful finish for interiors of drawers. One of the biggest challenges of trying to make these mismatched pieces into a set is that the customer wanted wood stained tops. And these, of course, are different varieties of wood. So I needed to try to camouflage the variety and make them match. The first thing I did was to strip down all three using my Surf Prep sander to see what I was working with. So I know that my nightstands have a lighter top than the dresser top does. I started out by applying a coat of Voodoo Gel Stain in Tobacco Road to my nightstands, and then I went ahead and applied a coat of Up in Smoke, which is a gray, over the Tobacco Road to get the color that I wanted. Because my dresser top was already darker, I was able to skip the Tobacco Road on the dresser and just go straight to the Up in Smoke, and that was how I got to a uniform finish on all three. So here are my three pieces. I've got the paint finish done. I've got the tops matching. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my transfer to the bodies. For the dresser, I built out a design using the Magnolia transfer, but I'm going to go ahead and cut up this larger piece of the Magnolia transfer to use on my nightstands. This is a large sheet transfer, but I really just want the floral portion out of it. It's just too pretty to leave it alone. Once I isolated the floral using a scissor and an X-Acto knife, I went ahead and I placed it on my dresser. Now what you'll notice is I'm going to place it on the frame first, and that's because the drawers of this piece overlap the frame. So I'm going to make sure that my frame has the matching transfer on it, and then I'm going to go ahead and place the cutout section on the front of my drawers. This method works really well when you have drawers that overlap your frame because you can make sure that your transfer matches up seamlessly from your drawers onto your frame with no missing sections. So now I'm just taking the piece that I cut from those empty rectangles and I'm matching it up to the corners on my drawer. So you can see right here when I place the drawer back into the frame, my transfer matches up seamlessly from the frame to the body. Just had a couple little leaves that were isolated to place on, and now we can see the final transfer design on the front of these. It's so pretty, you guys. This Magnolia transfer design is beautiful. I love it because the white flowers make it so universal. I can put it on any background color, and then it's buildable, so I can really make any design I want out of this, which means I can make it fit any furniture piece as well. Of course, it wouldn't be one of my pieces unless I added black wax for detailing. So I'm just taking a little bit of best dang wax in black. I'm going to dig it into this rope molding. This rope molding I added onto this furniture piece. This is Would You Bend molding. And I wanted to make it match some of the more detailed moldings that were on the nightstands. And I did this through my moldings. So I used a rope along this section. I also added these keyhole moldings as well. There's different keyholes on the nightstands, but just the fact that they both have keyholes ties them both together. I'm applying my black wax, making sure I get it down into the low points of all of my carvings, and then I'm going to come back with a dry rag and wipe away any excess. Then I'm going to use a baby wipe and I'm going to buff away any remaining portions. What I'm left with is just black in the very low points on all of my carvings. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to hit all of the high points of the carvings with some gold gilding wax. So this is my formula for doing moldings. I love dark in all of the low recesses, and then I come back and hit the high points with some metallic. It really sets off the moldings. I'm just applying the gilding wax using my fingers, and I just rub it along the highest points of all of these ridges. So with all my detail work done, it's time for me to come back and finish the part that I procrastinated on. And that was to make these legs match the wood stain tops on all these pieces. And I procrastinated on this because I knew that I needed to sand them down, and they're incredibly detailed turned legs. Thankfully, my Surf Prep sander makes pretty easy work of sanding down surfaces like this. So I just use my Surf Prep with a foam abrasive, and the foam really conforms to the curves of these legs. So then I'm going to do the same process I did on the tops, and I'm going to apply Voodoo Gel Stain in Tobacco Road and then Up in Smoke. You'll notice first that I saturate my legs in water, and that's because I really don't want to get deep coverage of this stain. I want it to be pretty shallow, just a little shading of the stain itself. Most of it is actually going to get removed when I wipe it off because the wood is already so saturated in water. All of my finishes are done. I can finally put some clear coat on these. So I chose to spray these in flat clear coat. Flat sprays beautifully. I didn't have to dilute it at all. And I love the low matte sheen on these. And then I went ahead and gave them a little bit higher shine on the tops with Dixie Belle Gator Hide. I just rolled that on with a flocked roller. The gator hide on the tops, just make sure those are extra durable for the portion of these pieces that will be used the most. So here they are, you guys. They're done and they're absolutely beautiful. I love these as a set or standalone pieces. They're a little bit unique, but they still tie in together. These are going to go in a guest bedroom in my customer's home. I think it's going to be stunning. They're going to go with a black bed frame as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you'll click that subscribe button. As always, you can find links for everything I used in this video in the description for this post. You can find more Brushed by Brandy on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, on YouTube, and my website at brushedbybrandy.com.